Welcome back to SOS, some stats I'm badass. Alright, I've been getting a lot of crazy questions. I was going to do a podcast about this, but I figured I'd get on here and just kind of rant and kind of talk about it. Okay. There's a lot of strange stuff and strange activity happening around us every day. And there's always the question of a financial collapse and all kinds of different things that could go bad or go wrong. Financial collapse has always been one of the ones that I get asked about a lot, my opinion on it. And I didn't want to go too far into my take on it. The dollar is going to be useless, cash will be useless. And I always get asked questions about, well, what about in a situation where you've got to leave and it's not a financial collapse? You could use a credit card, okay? Credit cards are going to be kind of useless after a financial collapse, though. And all that stuff's going to be flipped, and it's not going to be worth anything. And if it is worth anything, it's the price of things are going to go through the roof. It's going to be the stuff that you buy every day. It's going to be things that you buy every day. Anything from gas to diapers to canned foods, all kinds of things like that, coffee, anything that you can think of that can be bought at a store is going to be outrageous. And another thing that always happens, and this is stuff that I think about, okay? I'm doing another one of these videos because I like doing these. I want to try and help. This is just stuff that I randomly, and even Sippy Cup will do this to me during the day. One thing that she brought up that I remember from the gun scare. Okay, there was a gun scare. I know this is kind of off topic. I'm kind of jumping around. But during the gun scare, we were curious, right? Well, I reload my own ammo. I've got ammo stacked over here at brass. I've got to reload 50 cal and a bunch of other stuff. But I've been doing that for years and years and years, right? And I'm skilled at it enough that I can teach other people. So we were curious, and we went to Walmart. We were in California. We went to Walmart, and there was a huge gun scare, with ammo and all kinds of stuff. They're going to ban this, ban that. This was a while ago. And we were just curious. It was a day after the scare. Everyone started freaking out. And you could see people lining up into gun shops. I remember those days. There was a long line. People trying to buy .22 ammo. I remember when 500 rounds was like $18. But anyways, I digress, all right? So we went there, and we went down the ammo aisle. It was empty, completely empty, sold out. Now, for those people that didn't stock up, had that kind of problem, they would go to try and buy ammo for their firearm, and there was nothing available. I'm going to get to martial law here in a minute, okay? I'm going to throw that out there too. Because a lot of people ask me a lot of questions, and I don't mind doing the video for it. Now, when I buy a firearm, okay, one thing that I do, I always make sure the firearm has ammunition. It's not going to work without bullets, right? So one thing that I always do, it doesn't matter if it's a Glock 21 or if it's I don't care if you've got a high point. I don't care. 9 mil to 45 ACP. Each firearm you own as a gun owner, you should have at least 1,000 rounds for that firearm. And a lot of people probably disagree with what I'm saying, but that's fine. We're all human, and if everyone agreed with me, life would be boring. So, but I'm going to throw that out there. That's what Sippy Cup and I keep in the back of our minds. Now, you probably can't get that type of supply, but it is always good to keep it. And if you're at like 200 rounds of ammo or something like that, there's nothing wrong with that. That is your decision on how much you're going to keep. And you can't see yourself shooting that many rounds. I get it. But as a prepper, that's just one of the things that falls into the category of prepping. And you end up with firearms. You end up with them. I'm just saying. Some people do, some people don't, right? There's preppers out there that don't believe in firearms. They still prep. It doesn't have anything to do with, what we do. But as a prepper, a lot of us do that. We buy our firearms. But you need to get your ammunition for them. And another good thing to consider is the reloading part of it, right? You might not be able to go to a store and buy some ammo, but if you have the reloading supplies, it's way cheaper to reload ammunition, and you can get into it super fast, and the equipment pays for itself. I'm just going to say that. I've got videos for all that stuff. I'll do another updated video about that. I digress again. See what I do? I'm just rambling. I'm all over the place. People hate it when I do that. And then the video ends up being 20 minutes. Nobody wants to watch. All right, let me keep talking. All right, let's focus. All right, so now, I said that. Now, a financial collapse, what do you think is going to happen? If it is known that it's happened, people are going to freak out. There are going to be mom, pops, uncles, aunts, grandma and grandpas, everybody, meemaws and peepaws. They're all going to be lined up at all the stores, all over the place, buying what they can, right? Because they know the price of everything is going to skyrocket. And by the time you get off work and you get there, it's all going to be gone, right? It's like any disaster. It's like any type of disaster. I've seen so many situations where people freak out. We've had situations where we knew we were in a disaster area and something was going to happen, and just out of amusement, go to the grocery store just to see what's going on there, and you see all the aisles are empty. I've got a few pictures of that. It's pretty crazy. I actually took pictures. This was way back years ago, but there's been some situations we've personally been involved in where I cannot believe it's all gone. All of it's gone. I mean, they even buy stuff that doesn't even make any sense, and it's all gone, right? Now, I know it's crazy, but now, what if there is a financial collapse? If there is, that's going to be a very bad day. Now, could there be martial law from that? Good possibility. Good possibility. It could happen, And what if the government's writing IOUs? I mean, it happened in California, paying law enforcement IOUs, basically. They couldn't afford things. They were bankrupt, right? They were bankrupt, and they were paying with IOUs. We'll pay you one day, There's been times, like when I was in the Marine Corps, our paycheck stopped. And a lot of people out there don't know that. There's weird stuff that happens. All because they couldn't make a decision about, it had to do with different types of pay, and there was some other heinous stuff they were trying to make a decision on. And if you would have known what they were, I don't want to say them on the show because I don't bring that kind of stuff to the channel. But they were trying to make a decision on something else, and it wasn't going well for them, and they couldn't figure out who to pay and all kinds of stuff. That could happen any time there's a physical quarter, like when they do their billing cycle, and it's usually around November when they start focusing on their billing cycles and stuff, who they're going to pay and making decisions. It happens, and then they always take a break and they leave, and no one's made a decision on anything. And then the people that suffer are the people that are getting paid that work for the government. That includes anyone that's in the military. That happens to them too. Weird stuff, man, people don't know about. And it's always good to get on here and educate them on stuff like that. So if there was a financial collapse, it's going to affect all of them first. So a lot of people would ask me, would you be concerned about martial law in a financial collapse? Yes. And keep in mind, they're going to be just as, if there is, for example, the National Guard or, anything like that, they're going to be just as affected by it as you are. They're going to be affected by it too. They're not going to be able to put food on the table and things like that. They might get sucked into a base and have to work from that base, and they're still waiting on their paycheck, right? But there's food banks and things like that that the military actually turns to. Veterans, that are in service actually turn to. The food lockers and things like that. Well, you have them on every base. A lot of people don't know that either. It's weird stuff like that. I hope this helps a lot of you and you gives you a broader picture of things and how everyone's going to be affected by that, right? And trust me, law enforcement and everybody else, they're going to be affected by it too. And, if they do initiate martial law, things to consider, right? There's a lot of things to consider when it comes to martial law. It can happen in a county, it can happen in a town, it can happen in the state, it can happen in the United States. They could just go over the entire freaking country and everyone could be affected. They could initiate martial law any way they choose, right? And if they did that, say it's on a small scale, right? If you have a disaster, look back at some of the disasters that have happened over the times, and during that they issue a, because they have to hand out food and water and things like that, and you'll get a card to basically be able to get your food and water and all that stuff, right? So when you get issued that, just keep it like that, Don't let it be known to everybody, hey, look, I'm a prepper, I already got tons of food at the house. You don't want to do that. If they're not going house to house, doing house calls and checking on everybody, if none of that's actually happened yet, then why would you want to make a big issue? You could just get your little card, fall in line like everybody else, and just do your thing. Now, if you end up pudgier than everybody else, they're going to be able to tell that you're more hydrated than everybody else, right? So just don't make it known, right? You're going to have to stay low key about it if you are, into your preps. But they're going to know who didn't show up, right? They're going to know who didn't. They might make a house call to you. So you want to play along and participate. It's one of the things you need to do. And that's the best way of disguising yourself and staying low key and not getting yourself, mixed up into trouble. So it's one of those things. I know that sounds crazy, but just play along. And that's if you're not going to leave. If it's just in a city or a county and they issue something like that and you want to leave and you got somewhere to go, and you got an uncle that lives in another state or whatever, aunt, I don't care, but if you got another place you can go in the meantime until it dies down, it's over with, then that's something that you could do. But if the risk outweigh the rewards of leaving, then you might as well stay. If the risk outweigh the reward staying, then there you go. And you know what you need to do. You need to leave. I hope this makes sense. I really do. I hope I make sense right now. All right. So, let's see. Now, you've decided to stay. Now, what if they do make house calls? What if they do want the guns, right? They want the guns. That's always the big topic. They're going to see what kind of food and water they have in their house and take it. That happens. If you've got a large amount of food, they could take you and house you in a facility for your best interest, for your protection. They could haul you off to a special facility and that facility could just be a high school gymnasium, with cots. But for your best interest, they're going to come take you. You could be perfectly fine, Hey, I'm great here. I'm fine. Leave me alone. A guy like me, I'm going to be like, dude, leave. I'm fine. We've got food, water, everything. Good. We're taking it. And then they take all that food and water and they just issue it out to everybody else. So everybody gets your food and water, your preps. You just take it all. It's like, well, we can't leave these guns here because someone's going to break in and take these guns. So we're going to take them for you. And it could be years before you get those firearms back. That's if everything comes back to order. If everything falls back in line again and the country stabilizes and gets fixed. That's on a country scale, right? That's on the entire country. But in a state, if the state, once the chaos is over, if it's just a state activity or if it's a county activity or a little town activity, right? If it comes back to normal and the crisis is over, then there you go. You end up getting your stuff back, but it could take some time and some legal hassles to get that stuff back. I've heard some horror stories, okay? I'm just going to say, there is some paperwork involved in that, and they don't just hand them over, right? And then you could face criminal charges just for trying to defend yourself. And in a state where they declare martial law and you're running around with a gun in your hand, they could put legal charges on you that could just ruin your life. And that's the other thing that people don't even know about, the legal hassles afterwards, right? And all you're trying to do is protect you and yours and your family, everybody around you. You're just trying to protect yours, and you're going to end up in a legal hassle after the fact, after it's over. That's just another pain in the butt, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a gamble, man. It's a gamble, and there's no right answer. There's really no wrong answer to this, and it's going to be a risk-reward type thing and taking chances. And sometimes it's just best to play along and participate. That way they have you listed there, and you're showing up, and you're falling in line with everybody else, and that type of thing. I do know people that prepare for that particular activity, for just martial law. I do know a lot of people that do that, and I am familiar with a lot of different groups out there. And a lot of groups will do rally point type ordeals where they have a rally point, they have a centralized location, and they keep a stash available there. That way, they don't fight. You don't want to fight a conflict at your property. You don't want, if there's a tactical group shows up to your house, I mean, they could be wearing jeans and t-shirts and just a standard vest and a shotgun, right? You don't want to take the fight on your property. You don't want to do that. It's going to end badly for you, I'm telling you. And you're a lone person. You're just one person trying to stand your ground on your property. It's not going to end well. You could get yourself killed. You could still lose all your stuff and then face criminal charges. Sometimes it's best to just, in a situation like that, it's like, look, man, there's Humvees pulling out front. All right, let's leave. You know what I mean? Just leave. And then at that point, having a rally point available to meet your group. If you're in a group, there's a lot of people that do that. There's a rally point, and then they go to that spot, and they've already got caches stashed there. They've already dug a hole, used some PVC pipe and sealed it up. They've got some firearms in there, whatever, storage of food. They just don't want to play the game. You know what I mean? They don't want to play the game. And you can agree or disagree in this whole scenario that I'm throwing out there. You can agree or disagree on that ordeal. You can, if that's the thing. I mean, if you're not, I'm not saying either or. I'm not telling you to do either one. I'm telling you it's best to not get in any kind of conflict, because all the problems that evolve from that, right? It's best to just stay away from the conflict. And I mean, but see, martial law can go so many different ways on a larger scale. And if it's on a larger scale, it's going to be bad, and it's going to be really bad. It's going to be everywhere. There's a possibility of roadblocks. There's a possibility of all kinds of stuff, right? They could be running checks on everybody, and you're going to be donating, instead of like the Victory Garden where you're donating your food. A lot of people at Victory Gardens didn't get much food. They didn't get much food from that. That food all went to the government. That food left. You know what I mean? All these, all these people that were out there canning food up. Of course I can. The old World War II type posters and things like that, and World War I. All those different types of situations where they had gardens and they grew, and then they had canning and they canned, and then they donated the food, and then they had food banks. There's a lot that people either don't remember or they just don't know about, right? It's a lot of interesting stuff and how it all worked. But it could lead to that for cooperation, from the government. Maybe they don't come in by force and start beating up people and smacking you over the head and taking your guns away. Maybe it's not so violent, maybe it is a little bit different. I'm not trying to sound all, everything's good, because it could go two different ways, right? It could go two different ways. There's assumptions, right? The assumptions of that. You don't want to live that way. You want to be able to have a scale here and be able to decide for yourself what what could happen, right? But you need to know both sides of the story before it gets you in a bad situation. It's always good to think about these things. And like I said, larger scale, it's going to be a very bad day. You might want to participate because, I mean, large groups of people, it's hard to do, right? It's really hard to do. Hang on a sec. Okay, so like I was saying, on a larger scale though, they could still come in. This is one more thing. On a smaller scale and a larger scale, they could still come take what's yours. That's just, it's going to happen. It's a donation. You're donating. Congratulations, you just donated. But it's good to just, in some cases, you're better off just playing along and letting it play where it's going to figure out where it's going. But you could, and it could be best in certain situations, and you'll sense it. You'll know what to do. You'll know how to figure that out. Where it's like, do I want to lose all this stuff? I got Uncle Fred, he lives way over here, in another place. I could just fill the truck up with all the stuff I don't want them taking and just go there. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. I could just walk away from it and be a free man with still got all my stuff. And if a looter or whatever wants to come in and bust the place up, they might get a couple of items from me, or whatever, but it won't be a total loss. I will be able to recover from it. And you can recover from things like this. It sounds crazy, but it is, time has told. But, it also leads to a lot of ignorance, and I'm not saying that everyone out there is ignorant. I'm not saying anything. Don't put words in my mouth. I am saying that they follow orders, all right? They follow orders. They're told to do this, this, and this, there could be a guy named Billy. I'm just saying, that's weird. Billy could come to your door, right? And he doesn't know what your rights are, really. He just, he's just following orders, and Billy tells you get in the truck, you know what I mean? You don't know which way that could go. You could be in a situation where the person's actually understanding and gets it and walks away. You know what I mean? But it's how you approach them too. It also has a lot to do with that. You don't want to go out there guns blazing, right? Or, just, being a punk, it depends on their demeanor too. But a lot of that goes into all kinds of stuff. I mean, what if it's the type of martial law where it leads to a country takeover type thing? Well, then I guess if you weren't in a group already, you better hurry up and find one because it's too late, right? I'm just saying. It's good. It's nothing wrong with being in a group and communicating with others. You gotta let that guard down a little bit, right? Practice your OPSEC. Keep your OPSEC going. Your operational security. All right. You can. It's just like when I'm on here, I don't use my name and things like that. You can still meet up with people at your local coffee shop somewhere and have a conversation and a sit down. I mean, it is you can still slowly open up to people and seeing if they're safe. You can run small background checks and things like that on individuals and gather intel on them and see who they are and what, are they this, are they that, are they a mass murderer? You don't want weird people in your group, and you're trying to expand your group, and not everybody in your area is up to the task of even being a part of it. You say group and they run for the hills. They're talking about militia. No, we're not. We're just talking about a mutual assistance. You know what I mean? We want your help in the event there's some kind of chaos like that. There's another hand helping you work. There's another person helping you grab a box. It's like having a moving buddy, right? It's like having a buddy you call to help you move. It's kind of like that situation. If there was martial law, you call your buddy to help you move, right? Hey, man, it's a mess. I need you to get over here with the truck right now. We got to get this stuff loaded up. You know, you don't know what's going to happen, right? But anyways, I hope a little bit of this random stuff that I'm saying actually helps you out a little bit. And I'm not the legal brief or anything, but this is just what I know. I'm not going to get on here and tell them they're going to come take your guns. But I will tell you, it's probably best to not, you don't want to trust them fully, right? Don't trust them fully. But just, you play along and try and get through it. And always have a backup plan. Always have a backup plan. And that's the reason why I'm saying it's always good to have a small rally point. It's just gone south real quick. And it's good to be able to know where you can go. Right? It's good to know these things. It is. Trust me. Alright. I hope this helps. You're watching SOS. I'm Stas Arm Badass. Have a beautiful, fabulous, fantastic rainbow unicorn pony. Light bright. What's some other ones? I don't know. They're pretty weird. You can comment below if you want. Sasquatch is watching. Alright. And take it easy.